My name is Elizabeth Smith, and this is my Old Testament canon presentation. In regards to the Old Testament canon, there are four main topics that we have to touch on. First being the formation, organization, you could say, of how it came to be. Second being transmission, what that is, and why it's important. As well as the reliability. That's another topic that has to be touched on. And then amplification, meaning kind of why all this information matters to us as modern day Christians. Going back to the formation and organization of the Old Testament canon, these were books and writings that were unorganized before scholars and prophets sat down and attempted to organize them into a solidified and accurate chunk of information. The books and writings that were chosen to be included in the canon were things that were written by prophets, but just not any prophets. They were decided which were divinely inspired, and they were looking for things such as consistency with other writings, the trustworthiness, and the widely acceptedness of these writings. Now, transmission is interesting because there's a difference between transmission and translation. Translation is often referring to word by word or phrase by phrase, and transmission is talking about the copying or the accuracy regarding the copying between different copies of the scripture. The biblical books had to be copied over and over again so they could be preserved for other people to read them. According to Benjamin Breed in his article, How Was the Bible Written and Translated, he says that the process of rewriting the books in the Bible was not always perfect. Sometimes mistakes were introduced or words were added or dropped, and we call this whole process, including the accurate copies and the mistakes and the transmissions of the text, that is, the text transmitted and sometimes changed by scribes who copied the ancient scrolls over and over again. But then reliability kind of comes into consideration here, because not only do we want these copies to be as accurate as you can, it also has to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. This is an interesting topic because often in history you have battles battles that were recorded and then details that were kind of switched around or conveniently left out of the story to support or cast shadows on one side of the battle or another. If you're on the losing side, maybe you twist a couple details to make it seem like you won. This is not true with the Bible. According to an article by Answers in Genesis called Is the Old Testament Reliable?, they say that another unique feature of the Old Testament is its ruthless honesty in the records of Israel. In the ancient world, bad things were not recorded. Now contrast this with the authenticity of the Old Testament. If Israel lost a battle, it was recorded. When Israel's hero King David committed a terrible double crime of adultery and murder, that was also recorded. Even the godly King Hezekiah, in whose reign a spiritual revival took place, it's recorded him falling in his latter days and committing acts of foolishness that brought disaster on the nation for years to come. Not only were these things recorded, they were recorded accurately, which shows the reliability of the Old Testament canon, because if you wanted to write something, you would definitely write it in a way that benefits you. In this case, it was divinely inspired because it wasn't just a recording of the events for our benefit, but it was the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, which speaks to not only its reliability, but its accuracy, and it's meaningful to us. Now, all of this information is great, but why does that matter to us as modern-day Christians? Understanding these things is essential to Christians like us when studying the Bible, to make sure that first we know what we're dealing with. If we don't know what we're reading or why it's so important or if it's valid or not, then that kind of casts shadows on the authority that it holds over us. As Christians, we should be looking to the Bible for our final and ultimate authority. And these facts and information are important to us because these are things that will influence how we as Christians think about the Bible. It increases its value to us. Not only that, it all shows how it is a valid source of ultimate authority, and we should study it and value it. Thank you.